Welcome to the Spaghetti Wall, the podcast where we explore mental health, happiness, and what it really means to live a full, healthy life.
We're your hosts. I'm Jason Wilcox, licensed clinical social worker.
And I'm Dr. Tansei Lee, licensed psychologist.
And every week we throw ideas at the wall of life and see what sticks. You'll hear stories, science, practical tools, and a whole lot of heart.
And maybe even a few laughs, because healing doesn't have to be so serious all the time.
So if you're trying to figure out life, you're not alone. This is a space for curiosity, compassion, and maybe even a little chaos.
This is the Spaghetti Wall.
Let's get into it.
In this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about ourselves, our mission, why we're here, and our motto, and why we chose this motto. So our motto is, "The mess is the method." And so when we think about this motto, when we were talking about it, we really liked it because life is messy, and it's the messy parts that make life so fulfilling, and the messy parts help us grow, help us develop as humans. And it really felt like that's what this podcast is about, is we're going to talk about things that are messy, the spaghetti wall, right? Like,
I love messy.
me too.
I think I'm a messy person. I like the mess. Like just before we started recording, I went to a farm, got into the manure pit with my boots and gloves and started shoveling a bunch of horse manure into feed bags. And here I am.
And here
You
you
know?
are. And I love all that messiness about you.
Yeah. And so I'm not afraid to get into the mess. And I think, the mess is the process
Yes.
for me.
How so?
Well, I think about just living life and experiencing things, and that is messy. I think just going forward and being in the mess is the process. And I feel some people are scared of it. Some people like control and organization. Some people like things to be very defined and known, I think maybe. For
Hmm.
me, I'm just like, yeah, let's play in the mud. Let's squeeze all these blackberries and stain everything. That's okay. That's me.
I think that's us. That's why we play in the mud together, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for folks that maybe enjoy more organization, it might be difficult listening to us or following our thought process as we do this podcast and we talk about these topics. But yeah, just bear with us, I would say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll have some organization in it, but I think the mess of trying to process and understand things is an important piece because we get to see parts of the whole that we don't always think about. So, for example, if we start into a topic, you know a lot of really cool things that I may not know, and I have cool things that you may not know, and we have different perspectives and stories. And as we dive into the mess, we get to see the whole picture. It becomes fun.
Yeah, I say that to a lot of my clients who are starting new with me as a therapist. I let them know each session is different. We just show up and let things be organic. And usually at the end, there's a nugget of wisdom or an aha moment that we weren't expecting. We didn't have planned out. And it's usually through the messiness of like listening to the emotions, naming it, discharging the thoughts, reviewing the behaviors. And that's messy, it's painful, it's hard, it's emotional labor. And then at the end, something comes out of it.
You know, it's funny. I don't know if I've ever heard you tell me that before. And if you have, I've forgotten. I apologize. But I do something very similar. I'm not scripted. I'm not regimented with my therapy when I see clients. And I'll have clients once in a while be like, well, do you have like scheduled topics or do we have an agenda? And I normally tell them I don't. And I'm probably not going to ever do that because I believe in wherever the counseling session goes is where it needs to go. Because all paths lead to the same spot. And so a lot of clients don't always understand what that means. And so I help them understand that that where their mind needs to go in these sessions, it's going to lead us right back to the same trail of what the sources are that cause what they're experiencing in life. And so I'm not a big fan of an agenda because that can kind of disrupt the process in and of itself.
Yeah, I operate from that place, I think, Jason, because like as an EMDR therapist and as a somatic experiencing embodiment therapist, I incorporate these things. And what the objective is, I think, in this session with the mess is to increase folks' tolerance for the mess and widen our ability to sit with the mess and be in the mess and really feel the mess before we can name it, compartmentalize it, reshape it, reform it. And so, yeah, I think I come from that place where to be in the mess is the gold, you know?
Yeah, and it really is. It's interesting what happens through that process too. I see a lot of people, their confidence boosts just that piece alone of being in the mess and being okay and having a stable, non-judgmental, healthy space to be in that mess and grow. You see the confidence in them just change and shift.
I love it. I love seeing people rationalize that, yeah, I shouldn't be afraid of this, or yes, this is a thought. And then you said, let's sit in that, let's
Yep.
sit in that, let's sit in that. And then they drop from their head, which, intellectually, yeah, it's nothing to be scared of. It's just a thought, right? But then you allow them to feel it, and then you see something settle in their body when you help them ground and go, okay, well, let's just sit in that. Let's just notice that what's happening in your body. And you just notice things settle and shift. And like, that's the way I incorporate allowing people to really embody and have somatic embodiment of that change and that shift. And it does something really neurodynamically in the brain. I think it helps people feel safe. It helps people feel like it is messy. And at the end of it, I have choice and maybe even some sense of, dare I say, control, right?
Mhm. Well, I think that's where it starts orienting them, right? Is that life is messy, period. End of story. It'll always have messiness in it. But when we can help reorient people to all the control they have within that messiness, because they have quite a bit of control. They don't have control of everything, but where we can reorient them and where people start to find and discover and see what they have control inside of that, it's empowering. And the messy doesn't feel so messy anymore.
hmm I think even with when we were creating the visual for the podcast, like, I don't know what you call it, the
The
picture,
logo.
the logo. Yeah. I think like just having the visual of it's okay to just like throw spaghetti and let's add some sauce too. Let's make sure we mix some butter in there. Like, let's make it messy. It's okay. And that's part of our brain. I know I'm pretty scattered. Like, I have ADHD. It's hard for me to stay in one topic. I'll interrupt you. And so these are some of the behaviors that make me feel like I'm all over the place and somehow I'm still put together. So I'm still living, right? I'm
Uh,
functioning. I'm a functioning adult.
What's your favorite line you always tell me? I'm a hot mess.
I am a hot mess, and
And I
that's
always laugh
okay.
because if anybody knows you, they all know you're not a hot mess yet your perspective.
Yeah. And I think I embrace that. I always say, okay, you want to see me? I'm like hotmess.com right here. Yes.
And yet look at all that you have in your life. It's all functional and all working. Things are happening well.
I think I love modeling that I am imperfect and I can forget and I can say something that might offend you and I'm okay with you giving me that feedback because I know I'm not going to be perfect. I'm not going to be like all well-rounded. I don't know if we've ever talked about our love for rocks, right?
No,
And
we haven't.
I mean, we shape rocks
Mm-hmm.
and there's something grounding about that, but we know that we are not created perfectly rounded, you know?
Right. Right. And it's beautiful, the things that can come out of the gems and rocks that we collect and find, and when we polish them up, and beautiful. I think that same sentiment is partly why I love this field, and partly why I want to even do a podcast, is because there's a lot of hurt out there. There's a lot of pain, a lot of people struggling, and a lot of people wanting to find a different path in life. And I think that really intrigues me and pulls me into this kind of work of seeing people that feel like they have all this rough edges or struggles in life, and seeing them go from that to, by the time we're done with therapy, feeling good about life, moving forward in ways that they've always wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, I just like sitting in it. I'm okay sitting with it. I think one thing of my job as a therapist, psychologist is not that I'm like trained to learn behaviors or, like, oh, I know how to do X, Y, and Z therapy, but I think it is just I enjoy sitting in what people might feel as unacceptable discomfort, anxiety, fears. And I like to model that we can tolerate it, it can be held. And I want to hold this space for you so that we can find a path forward in this mess. And so I think that's why I really enjoy the job I do.
You know, what's interesting, because we keep talking about the mess, but I think the reality is at least, I don't know how you feel about it, but for me, we did this interesting art project with our kids not too long ago. Well, it's been a little while now, but we took a bunch of paint and we poured it on a canvas.
All right, the acrylic paint pouring.
Yep,
A
yep.
big canvas too. It's like humongous.
Yeah, humongous paint. I mean, we still have it on the wall. It's ginormous painting, but
Yeah, it must be like 4 by 5 or something.
something.
Hmm.
And we just poured the paint on and just let it be a mess. And yet the mess itself is beautiful.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's what's important, is we talk about the mess, but it's beauty. It's this beautiful thing.
Yeah, life is beautiful.
Yeah.
I think just living like it's hard and it's beautiful. And so if you remember even pouring the acrylic paint, we all had a red, Dixie cup with paint in it, and we all had to figure out which corner to be in, and we all had to decide how to tilt it with everyone holding part of a side. And like I said, it was probably 4 feet by 5 feet, something like that, 4 by 4 or something. It was a square and it was big and it was not the easiest, but yeah, we all had fun doing it and we all knew it's going to come out unpredictable.
Yeah. And then, oh my goodness, it was so funny. The center, we weren't ready for this with all that paint on there that we put on it. The center sagged. So we had to figure out how to like prop the center up without paint going. Anyways, it was a
Yeah,
mess.
it was a mess. And if you stare at it, it kind of looks, if you ever look at acrylic paint, it's just like this swirled and it goes this way and that way. But some people look at it and say, hey, that looks like a pimple. And then other people look at it and say, that looks like a dragon. And then I look at it and I go, that looks like a volcano erupting. So yeah, we all have different perspective of the mess.
Really? I hadn't heard the pimple one. I haven't seen the pimple yet.
Yeah.
I'll have to go stare at it and see if I can find this pimple.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think about all this though, and with the mess, I think about people that might be listening to us and what this might mean in their own world. And one thing that can be interesting is if you feel like there's mess in your world and you're trying to navigate away from it, or you feel this desire to stay away from the mess or hide the mess, because that's often typical too. A lot of people might be struggling with emotional needs or mental health needs or struggles in their life, and they try to hide it all. They're almost embarrassed or ashamed or feel like it's something they can't talk about or can't have revealed. And so sometimes the mess, we create a monster out of it almost. If we can just change our point of view, Not saying this is easy, and obviously there's a lot of things to get there, but just a thought, just like the painting. Someone might look at it and be like, oh my goodness, that's just a big splurge of paint and a mess. But if we can look at the beauty of it and see that sometimes the mess doesn't mean what our mind wants to make it mean. It doesn't mean something bad or negative about you. It doesn't mean that life can't move forward in a way that you might want it to or try to desire to move it towards.
I totally agree with that, Jason. As you're talking, I'm thinking about discerning the difference between the mess. Say, for example, I feel like a hot mess when my garden project isn't done. An individual working with me might say, their hot mess or their mess is that they fight a lot with their partner and they want to work on their relationship or parenting, or they have issues at work. We want to discern between the mess of, this is a situation that doesn't feel so good or looks so messy and I don't feel good about it. I want something to change. Discerning that from things that are dangerous, like being in a situation that can cause you harm.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say if someone was working with me and their mess is marriage therapy or marriage counseling, that's different from like domestic violence
Oh,
and having
absolutely. Very different.
issues where there's violence in the home. And so I just want to make sure we're discerning between the mess versus something that is messy and dangerous.
Oh, yeah. Danger needs action.
Yes. I think I just welcome folks listening to embrace anything that you think is messy in your life, messy about you, and it's okay. Come be a hot mess with me.
I would say be a hot mess with us. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Play in the mud. Let's have a good time talking about topics that sometimes can be hard to talk about and sometimes hard to process.
Yeah. And I welcome us talking about things that are also tidy and organized and funny and put together. That's okay.
And I think that's another message I would throw out there. We all have a mess. You're not alone. We're all in this together. It's an important point. Well, we appreciate you joining our show today and look forward to talking with you again next time.
That's it for today's episode of The Spaghetti Wall. If something in this session hits home, you're not alone. These are the kinds of real conversations we all need more of.
Seriously, relationships are messy. Healing is messy. And life, yeah, it's definitely messy. But that's exactly where the growth happens.
If you found this episode helpful, share it with someone you care about. And don't forget to subscribe. New episodes drop every week with real stories, honest insight, and practical tools.
And if you want to learn more about the work we do or are looking for support in your own relationship, head over to avidcounseling.org. We'd love to connect.
Until next time, keep showing up.
And stay curious.
And remember, the mess is the method.